Welcome back to the Sideline Sorcerers. We are now on to week 15 of the NFL season. And before we get into it all today, I want to bring this up. I found this super intriguing and I have an idea. I want your opinion on this. But as we know, the Chargers Chiefs game ended again, as we all could have predicted, with the Chiefs kicking a game winning field goal. Not to mention it doinked and still went in. Obviously, it's the Chiefs, right? But when the Chargers scored their field goal, it left about 4.5 minutes left in the game. And I'm pretty sure everyone and their mother knew that the Chiefs were going to orchestrate some long ass drive to either score a touchdown or a field goal and leave the Chargers with little to no time left. They've done this countless times, not only this season, but in previous seasons, right? So, what do you do as the Chargers? I mean, there is only one answer, in my opinion. Now, granted, you could have scored a touchdown instead of a field goal that would have been better, but I think you have to attempt an onside kick here for two reasons. If you get it, great. If you don't get it, you cut down on the amount of field that the Chiefs have to go, and you know that they are going to go. So
Right.
that is way less time that they are going to eat up
They
off the
can burn off
clock.
the clock.
That is
Yeah.
way less first downs that they will be capable of obtaining, so that
hmm
even if they score a touchdown, you'll get the ball back. If they score a field goal, you'll likely still get the ball back with some time left. Like I used to do this in Madden. I know it sounds ridiculous, but because I knew my defense was dog water, I would not be able to stop the opponent. And if you're in that like little sliver of time left in the game where they'll be able to run the clock down and score and leave you with nothing, you got to go for this. Now, if there's like 6 or 7 minutes left, then yeah, you kick it. You know, they should
Right.
be able to score and then you should be able to get the ball back. But I think going for an onside kick is actually the right move.
Yeah, no, it honestly does seem that way. I just don't think that one of the coaches would be that intelligent to cook up a surgical game plan like that. Like they
I
would be
mean,
betting against their own team at that point.
I just think like if someone ever like throws heat on you for doing this, you can always just say like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm
It's the
betting
Chiefs.
like against Mahomes. Like Mahomes has done this every single time. So like
Yeah.
if I'm not like I mean he just did against the Panthers a couple weeks ago. So if I
Yeah.
don't do this, like I am literally just betting against Mahomes, which is just historically a stupid thing to do.
Right. Yeah, and just betting against Vegas, I guess, because they just
Yeah.
want the Chiefs to win.
I mean, it's crazy. I watched this game and I see him doink the field goal, still goes in
Yeah.
because it's the
Not like
Chiefs.
the Bears double doink, which will of course miss, but the Chiefs kick it, no problem. Let it
Yeah, I
get
mean, a
right
kicker
through.
they just signed a couple weeks ago. It's absolutely absurd to me. So I honestly think that's something that I haven't heard anyone talk about,
Yeah.
but it could actually be a good strategy. But getting into our pick recap from last week, I went 8-5, bringing my yearly record to 127.81. You had a nice week, 9-4, 133-75 for you all time. So that's also why that Chargers game is so resonant with me because it was
hmm
the difference in our records. I would have
Yeah.
liked to have that one. And obviously, also the Green Bay game was close, but it always felt like Detroit was going to come back and win that one. They
hmm
deserve to. But I'm getting really fed up with the Chiefs. And I think they're going to flame out fantastically at some point here in the playoffs. Their
Yeah.
luck's going to run out.
I mean, it seems like they could be like a 7-win team right now, honestly.
They
And
could
yet they're
be.
just not. They have just squeaked out so many of these games. It's wild. But another game that I have to profusely apologize for because I didn't give you the props for it, man. I was dogging on you for your Rams pick last week, but that was an absolute snipe, dude. I cannot believe you called that one. It was such an elite pick. I
Thanks,
just didn't
dude.
expect it. I didn't see it coming, and you sniped it, man.
Thanks, dude. I feel really good about that one. I mean, I was checking the score while I was at dinner. I had to pull my phone out multiple times because, the Bills were knocking on the door there, even though the Rams had a pretty sizable lead. Josh
Yeah.
Allen scoring the most fantasy points ever in a game, possibly
hmm
since a 1950 performance with the 6 touchdowns. just
Yeah.
absolutely Superman out of Josh, but their defense played one of their worst games, I think, in the last couple of years here. And it's a tough
Hmm.
spot to be. They came off that big win against the Niners at home. Then they have to travel across the country, one of the farthest travel points that you can have in the NFL from Buffalo to Los Angeles. And that, that's a lot of wear and tear that I feel like a lot of people don't think about. And so
Hmm.
and here we go. They have to go now to Detroit, which isn't a long flight or anything, but they had a really tough little road stretch here. But yeah, no,
Hmm.
thanks, dude. That one, I like that one.
Yeah, no, you definitely should. And you even had it in your best bets as well. So it's tallied onto your record for the week and improving your ROI. We love that
Yeah,
for
I
you,
don't
bro.
know. I finished record wise 16-16-1, so just
You were
dead
up on the week. You
even.
were
Was
up
I up
one
on the
unit.
week?
You were, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I figured because I hit the plus 162 on the Rams. That was nice. But would have been nicer if I hit the plus 170 on the Rams. That would have been really
On the
nice.
Bears, yeah.
But yeah, that would have also been good, but that just wasn't even close. I meant the 170 on the Chargers. That would have
Oh,
been, yeah.
I got you.
At
Yes,
least that
yes.
one was a little bit more within reach than the Bears just getting clobbered. But yeah, no, dude, I was looking back in my last couple of picks, and I am like 11-1 on Thursday night football over the last 4 or 5 weeks, like in picking the spread and the over under. Like I didn't go
Really?
back that far, but I have been absolutely lethal on Thursday night football, and I have been so much better in like my first half of the picks, and then I fizzle off as we go down the stretch.
Are we talking about your picks itself or the best bets of the week?
My best bets, rather,
Your
yeah.
best bets, yeah. Your college ones generally seem to be quite surgical. And then the
Yeah.
NFL ones dip into, I don't know, some treacherous waters.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not big. I have not been enjoying the NFL as much as college football this year, but I was very happy with some of my picks for college this past week with the FCS playoff games. I mean, Montana covering, Abilene Christian covering, University of California, Davis covering, a bunch of schools
Hmm.
that no one has any idea what's going on with, but I hit all of my FCS picks there.
Yeah, dude, those are some incredibly surgical picks there. And yeah, you even managed to snipe the Oregon spread as well there, getting the dub over Penn State. It looked like it was a lock early on because kind of looked like it was going
Yeah.
to be a blowout, but then Penn State was making it a game. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad that that's still cash for you.
Yeah, I mean, I could have taken a 3.5, but had to
Yeah.
protect myself. It was looking like it could have gone dangerous there with how Penn State was
Hmm.
keeping up.
Yeah, for sure.
You had a, solid week, a couple nice
No, come
unders, couple
on,
nice
come on.
unders. You were right on the under in that Chiefs game. You called that.
I did get a couple of the unders right. Yeah, a couple of our opposing picks there. The two you had overs for, I sniped the unders, but the other four bets did not pan out.
And the one that
You,
I had the under for in the Cincinnati Dallas hit.
yeah, all the unders, man. Those were the play, but
Yeah.
I really thought Cincinnati Dallas would have been higher scoring. It only missed by
Yeah. I mean, it was
two.
close. I
Yeah.
was pissed because Dallas didn't cover and they were, it looked like that game was going to be a field goal game. And then we all know
Hmm.
what happened there at the end, but they didn't end up
Yeah.
covering, unfortunately.
I know, yeah, that was tough. Vegas did not look good. Tennessee, bro, I really thought that they should have had that game. I mean,
Yeah.
they, they just looked like bozos out there, couldn't put up any points. And then, the Bears just got absolutely walloped. Just an embarrassing show after firing their coach.
Yeah, I mean, you were supposed to get a little bump from, firing your coach and
Yeah,
firing up the locker room,
they just looked
therefore. But
worse.
yeah, some really big surprisers with Tennessee there as well. But it's a fresh week here. Let's launch on in week 15 of the NFL season. Thursday night football, Rams at San Francisco. I like the 49ers. Almost said the Rams there. I was thinking about last week. But yeah, no, I love
Hmm.
the 49ers in this spot. Their season's on the line here. They cannot afford to get swept by the Rams. The division would pretty much be out of hand. Seattle is on like a 4 game win streak, although the Cardinals have fallen off now. So if they have any chance, they have to win this week.
Yeah, no, I like the pick. I'm also going to take the 49ers here. I think the Rams fall back down to earth a little bit
Yeah.
after their humongous win. Unexpected, at least on my end, but of course you predicted it. And I don't foresee them getting another insane win against a hungry 49ers team here this week.
Yeah, I mean, coming off the emotional highs of that high scoring victory over Buffalo, I think they definitely come back down. Washington at New Orleans. I'm going to take Washington. I'm not going to overthink this one. Washington's coming off of a bye. New Orleans did not look that good against the Giants, which we all know is probably the worst team in the league right now. So I'm just
Mhm.
going to stick with the Commanders. Hopefully, they don't bite me like they have when I picked them in the past.
Yeah, I'm taking Washington here too. I was a little bit scared on this pick though. I mean, they looked solid at the start of the season and then they have just kind of fallen off a little bit since then. Not going to call them the Eagles of last year just yet, but they certainly are not the same team in the beginning. Granted, New Orleans has not looked good either, but I'm a little bit concerned about picking Washington, especially going on the road here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kansas City at Cleveland. Another very losable game, I think, for the Chiefs, but that's just not
Mhm.
really within the cards for the Chiefs as we've seen here. So I'm going to just stick with the Chiefs here, not overthink this one either. But I don't think this is a walk in the park for them either.
Yeah, bro. I mean, none of the games that the Chiefs have played have been a walk in the park. Like literally none of them.
They're
Even the
horrible at
ones that should
covering,
be.
dude. They are horrible
Yeah,
against the spread this year.
I know. Like even the games against the Panthers, bro, or like
Yeah.
the Broncos that you originally thought, oh, okay, like these Chiefs are going to pound these other teams, and that did not pan out at all. But yeah, in any case here, I will still be taking the Chiefs. I'm not expecting their luck to run out just quite yet.
No.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep on riding them to win the game until they prove it otherwise.
I agree. Cincinnati at Tennessee. Let's keep rolling with the Bengals here to get another win and maybe just maybe kind of pull themselves back into the wild card conversation at 6-8 if they were to win this one. Tennessee, I thought they'd be able to win last week. They were at home. That's a good advantage for them. They squandered it. They looked absolutely disgusting. So why should I put any trust in them here? I like the Bengals, but man, the Bengals defense is bad. Like there were some plays last night. They were
Mhm.
kind of lucky to win that game the way they did and
They
cover
were, bro.
especially. So not that I feel amazing about this, but the Bengals should be able to get the win here.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what Tennessee did last week against a very, struggling Jacksonville team, and I guess we were a little foolish to even pick Tennessee last week. So I'm gonna have to go with the Bengals here. Their offense has been super hot. I'd be really, really surprised if they snuck into the wild card spot, though. I just don't think it's gonna happen for them, man. I know you're rooting for it in your heart of hearts, but it's just it would
Yeah.
be a historic comeback after
I
the
mean,
start to the
they
season.
got to win 4 games in a row here.
Yeah.
That's what's got to happen. All right. Miami at Houston, probably one of the better matchups of the week. I'm just going to roll with Houston because they're coming off of the bye, but this really should be a good matchup. Tua's been playing absolutely incredible. I have to say, he has been playing amazingly. I've been very impressed, despite, I thought he really should retire after incurring another concussion. I mean, it's just dangerous. And I still think he really needs to be careful, considering another concussion would be absolutely tragic for him in his
Yeah.
career. But that being said, he's playing absolutely incredible right now. CJ Stroud, on the other hand, not playing so great. But they're at home, but they're coming off of a bye, but the Dolphins are coming off an emotional overtime victory. That tells me to take the Texans.
Yeah, I like the pick. I'm gonna ride with the Texans here as well. But to your point, I mean, I don't think Tua could reasonably even play again at this point if he has another concussion. I mean, it really
No.
seems like this would truly be the one that gets him out of the game for good because he just cannot afford any more injuries. It's just so dangerous out there as it is.
Hmm.
It just would be incredibly scary for his family if anything were to happen to him out there again. He would have to be done, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why he's not wearing the Guardian cap. Maybe there's some reason behind it, but I
Hmm.
really can't tell why he would not add that extra protection that's
He
available to
needs
him.
it.
He
Yeah.
really does. I mean, he's had so many concussions. That is the thing he needs the most. I mean, I feel like I've seen videos of NFL YouTubers do those fun videos around Christmas where what every NFL team needs for Christmas or whatever like the players want for Christmas. And Tua wants a nice guardian cap under the
Yeah,
tree for him. That
he
I
does.
mean, in his stocking, wherever, however it needs to be.
Wherever it fits,
To
yeah.
exactly right. So that would be pretty funny if someone did a video like that. But moving on here to Baltimore at the Giants. Now, before Baltimore lost to the Eagles, the Giants were the only team from the NFC to have ever beaten Lamar Jackson. So obviously now that is out the window, the Giants are boo. I mean, Baltimore is coming off of a bye, so obviously taking Baltimore here, but it is kind of an interesting thing to watch. If maybe there's some scar tissue there, maybe some
Scar
PTSD from
tissue.
when Daniel Jones came back on Lamar and somehow won that game a few years ago when the Giants made their playoff run.
Yeah, no, I mean that would just be insane if, something like that happened again. I don't envision that happening because it's the Giants and they're looking like dog water right now. So you got to be picking the Ravens here, but yeah, I mean if this game is anything like that other game where Lamar actually lost to the Giants, I would
Yeah.
be very surprised.
I mean, the Giants weren't bad that year, obviously. They made the playoffs,
Yeah.
but the Ravens squandered like a 21 or 14 to 20, 21 point lead. It was
Hmm.
wild. That was the same year they also blew it to Jacksonville, I think. That was a tough year for them. Dallas at Carolina. Now, Carolina really should have won this past week. Xavier Legette dropped what could have been the game winning touchdown. I really
Hmm.
thought Carolina plus 12.5 was the best bet on the board as far as the NFL spreads went. Just made no sense to me why the Panthers were getting 12.5 points after how they've been playing. And even,
Hmm.
I didn't expect them to win, but 12.5 is a lot. Now they're favored 2.5, which is still a little bit surprising. I don't think they're quite at that level yet. I think Dallas, they've proven to be better on the roads. They're still a solid team, solid defense, making plays. CD Lamb making plays. Cooper Rush, very competent as a quarterback. So I think they get the win here. Although Carolina has been playing much better, Bryce Young playing much better, I
Hmm.
don't think this is a good matchup for them.
You don't think it's a good matchup for the Panthers?
Correct.
Okay, okay. I am actually going to be taking the Panthers here this week, man. With their recent performances, they've impressed me. I know a few of their games have gone into overtime here, but that being said, they have squeaked out a couple wins. They lost a couple, but just by a few points. I mean, they're hanging in there with teams that they really shouldn't be having any business hanging in games with, like the Eagles.
Hmm.
You've got the Chiefs, and granted,
Yeah.
we know the Chiefs are the luckiest team in the league, but they're still hanging in there with the Super Bowl champs. These are solid teams that they're putting up good fights against, and with them at home and their improvements to their play lately, I think I'm going to put some stock in Carolina for this week.
Not a bad pick at all. I do think it's a little wild that they're favored 2.5. That seems like a lot for a
I
team
will
that has
agree with
not been
that.
favored probably in a game in 2 years. The only game that I can
Yeah.
imagine them being favored in was the game at home against the Falcons last year.
Hmm. It
But
must
other than
just be
that,
biased based on their recent play.
it must be. But I don't think Dallas looked all that bad last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even, the Bengals defense had some good plays, couple of interceptions. I mean, the Bengals defense, I feel like punched above their weight, and yet Dallas still almost won that game.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay at the Chargers. I got to roll with the Chargers here. Tampa Bay has been beating up on some bad teams. I mean, they beat the Panthers in overtime. They destroyed the Raiders. Now they have to go cross country to LA, who is in probably, yeah, they're not desperate for a win, but they definitely could use a win here after the Chiefs let down. They're now, on the little wild card cusp there with Denver, although probably firmly in. I think they want this dub here, and it's a tough spot for Tampa traveling across the country.
Yeah, no, Tampa has not been playing quite as well as I have been expecting them to play in the last few weeks here. So I am going to be taking the Chargers for that reason, especially after a really tough loss last week to the Chiefs, one they didn't deserve. I think the Chargers are going to be hungry here for a win.
Yeah, hopefully that pulls through for us there. Indianapolis at Denver. This feels like one of the easier picks of the week, despite both teams coming off of a bye. I like Denver at home. I think their defense rattles Anthony Richardson. Should be a fun game, though. I like the over in it, but it does feel like a pretty easy Broncos pick here.
Yeah, no, I like the Broncos here as well, man. We really have a lot of picks the same here this week, but yeah, Broncos definitely the play. They've been playing extremely well, and the Colts have not.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Next up, New England at Arizona. Not a game that I'm going to be super interested in watching, but I'm going to take the Cardinals here. They're on a little bit of a skid. It's not been good. Kyler Murray's turning the ball over immensely. He's not playing nearly as well as he was earlier in the season. And I think they get the win here at home. Patriots coming off of a bye. I believe, yes, they're coming off a bye. Or the Cardinals coming off of a beatdown at home by the Seahawks, who they had already lost to. That's not good for their division winning hopes, a division that they had led there for a couple weeks. So I think
hmm
they bounce back here. It's an easy slump busting type of game for them.
I love that slump buster word. Yeah, I'm taking the Cardinals here as well. And to your point, it is quite surprising to me. I remember just a couple weeks back we were talking about how the Cardinals were leading their division and the 49ers were in last place, and just how the rankings have totally shifted around. Now Seattle's leading the division and Rams and Niners are leading or are right after Seattle then, and
Hmm.
Cardinals are now in last. It's just a surprising turn of events, but that being said, this is a good rebound matchup for them here against a not very good New England team.
100%. Buffalo at Detroit, the best game of the week, in my
Oh yeah.
opinion, here. This is a tough one to pick. In my opinion, the toughest one for me to pick. I mean, you could
hmm
say Buffalo is going to bounce back after that weird loss. You could say, Detroit's banged up on defense. They almost lost to the Packers. But you could also say, hey, Detroit, they have proven they can beat good teams, they can beat bad teams, they can win in a shootout, they can win lower scoring games like we saw when they beat the Cardinals earlier in the season. They're also coming off of a couple extra days of rest after playing on Thursday. They're at home. That's a big home field advantage for them. It's a really tough game to pick here, but I have to go with the Lions. They're good, man. I really thought the Packers had a strong chance of beating them last week. The Packers had the lead multiple times in that game. Goff threw an interception deep in his own territory. They went for a fourth down, didn't get it in their own territory. Didn't matter. It really felt like they could move the ball at will on the Packers. There was no
hmm
stopping the Lions but themselves when they threw a pick and when they went for it and didn't get on fourth down. So who am I to not pick them here? I have to go with them. I think Buffalo's defense really got exposed last week. That doesn't spell well for them. And so I think the Lions just continue roaring along.
Yeah, no, I mean it's hard to pick against them, man. They've only lost one game this whole season and they've won 11 straight. You know, they've looked electric in the past basically the entire season. Their offense is just unrivaled by any other team. That being said, I'm going to be taking Buffalo, and this truly could be some of my own personal bias getting into the pick here, but I really feel like Buffalo and Josh Allen specifically are going to be angry at the way that they played that game last week, angry at the fact that they lost, that they called a timeout on the goal line even when they shouldn't have, and
Hmm.
cost themselves basically the game because they could have got the ball back and had a chance to kick a field goal even if they only had 20 seconds to march down the field. I mean, we know Mahomes has done it in 13 to get his team a field goal. Who's to say Josh Allen couldn't have done the same? So I really think that the Bills should have won that game last week. And because they didn't, I think they're going to be really hungry and are going to come back strong this week. I'm not for sure that they're going to win, but I think they've got a good shot at it.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick at all. I like it. I feel like the Bills should bounce back, and I feel like the Lions are due for a loss here at some point. I don't
Yeah.
anticipate a 16-1 performance out of them. I mean, it's extremely hard to
hmm
do that, and if they're going to lose one of these games here, I would not expect them to lose at the Bears. I would not necessarily expect them to lose maybe against the Vikings here again. Those are much more winnable, I think, than this one is.
Right.
So if they were going to lose the game, it probably would be this one. So we will see. Pittsburgh at Philadelphia, a little in-state action here that we don't get all that frequently. I'm gonna roll with the Eagles here. I think Pittsburgh going on the road in a raucous environment. Eagles offense, I think, is better. I think Pittsburgh, they've been up on some bad teams, some bad defenses, especially. They've kind of inflated their stats. But hey, I mean, they've been a phenomenal team and a big surprise to me as well. So another difficult game to pick. So I just kind of deferred to the home team.
Yeah, I like the pick. I think this is probably another one of those games on the schedule this week that is a very solid one. I mean, Pittsburgh is playing very well, definitely exceeding people's expectations this year. But that being said, Philadelphia has looked really solid too. They're playing at home this week, so I'm going to be rolling with them. But I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh kept this one really close.
Yeah, I think this is actually the game of the week and not
Yeah,
Buffalo at Detroit, which is kind of saddening because I think Buffalo and Detroit just far more compelling, but these are
right.
two bigger brands, I guess. Chicago at, oh, number mine. We gotta go back to Green Bay at Seattle. Don't want to get ahead of myself here. I'm going to take the Packers. I think they're coming off that extra rest. Seattle having a couple nice wins here, a 4 game win streak, I believe it is. They're due for a loss. I don't think they're all that great. I think they're a little fraudulent. I mean, they beat the Jets barely. They were kind of lucky to do so coming back from a 14-point deficit.
Hmm.
And even though they're at home here, I think the Packers are going to come in and just overwhelm them offensively. I think it's going to be hard to stop them. I don't think the weather's going to be that bad. So I like the Packers here to get a win.
Yeah, I agree. You know, you've got the Packers here vying for a playoff spot, that wild card, and I really think that they're going to get it here. They just have to win this game in order to do so. Seattle, like you said, is quite fraudulent. They do not deserve to win their division. This is the Rams' division to win, in my opinion, at this point. It is not going to the Seahawks. They're going to lose this game. Really feel that Seahawks are dropping this one to Green Bay.
Yeah, that division is really fascinating. I'm not sure I think that the Rams are going to win it, but it's wide open. They're all within two
Yeah.
games of each other. And if
I mean,
Seattle
I
wins and the Niners beat the Rams, then that'll play well into the Niners' favor, who they already, beat the Seahawks and lost to them. So it's not like there was the potential to get swept like they will when they play the Cardinals again.
the way I see this division playing out is Rams 1, 49ers 2, Seahawks 3, and Cardinals 4.
And I
Might
don't
be.
know. I just don't know. I mean, let's look at the Cardinals' remaining schedule, see if they can get anything going. They got Patriots, Panthers. Let's say they win those two, they're back to 7 or 8-7. Then they got at Rams. Let's say they lose that one, they are now 8-8, and then they're
And
at
then they
home
got
against the
Niners.
Niners. Let's
Yeah.
say that they split with that one, so they're probably 8-9. The Niners here, they got Rams, Dolphins, Lions, Cardinals. That's a pretty tough remaining schedule, especially because it's at the Dolphins. So I don't think that spells great for them. The Rams, they get the Jets and the Cardinals and the Seahawks. A lot of divisional games here in this division coming
Yeah.
up. Seahawks, they got to play at the Bears, and I'll be in attendance. And they also have to play the Vikings. So I think the Seahawks have some of the tougher games as well coming up. The Cardinals probably have the easier stretch there. So it'll be super
Hmm.
intriguing to see what happens. But speaking of the Bears, Bears at Vikings, I'm going to take Minnesota. Just not trying to overthink it. Sure, an upset could happen in one of these games, but it's the Bears. They've looked absolutely atrocious over the last couple weeks, whether they lose close and because of a stupid coaching decision or because they
Hmm.
just get blown out and they're just a significantly worse team. They're going to lose this game. And the Vikings, Sam Darnold, 5 touchdown passes against a pretty good secondary. I've been very impressed with what they've been doing, just winning and racking up games. I'm going to continue to roll with them, get the sweep on the Bears.
Yeah. I mean, there is not too much else you can really say about it. It's just Bears in classic form. They always tend to drop. All these games, you go into the season with sky high expectations that their roster's looking better than ever before, and they still let you down. And that's exactly what's going to happen again here. They're going to lose a game to Minnesota, much more talented team. What else can you say, bro?
No, I couldn't agree more. Atlanta at Vegas, kind of a weird game to pick here. I just think the law of averages for the Falcons will kick in and they'll get a win here, even though Vegas has been competitive in some of the games, obviously not against the Buccaneers, but they have covered a nice couple of spreads over the last few weeks. And I just think you can't continue to keep throwing this many interceptions if you're Kirk Cousins. Like eventually you need to get your head on straight. Otherwise, you're going to get benched for Michael Penix, and there's no better team to do that to than the Raiders. I mean, that is a
Mhm.
slump buster if I've ever seen one.
Love that. Yeah, I'm taking the Falcons this week as well. Raiders looked pretty rocky last week against the Bucks team. I'm really surprised, honestly, that they're still only 2-11. Like it feels like the Raiders have been a little bit more competitive than their record shows, but yeah, certainly seems to me like this is a good bounce back week here for the Falcons to come in, and they should get a pretty easy win here against a Raiders team.
All right, and that does it. That's a double
Wait,
header for Monday night, by the way.
wait, we skipped
Did
one.
I skip one?
We skipped the Jets at Jacksonville.
Oh God. Ugh. What a gross
Ugh.
game, dude.
But look who you're picking
Yeah, I mean,
again.
Aaron
We knew it
Rodgers
was the
looked
Jets.
Aaron Rodgers looked amazing last week. I truly thought they were going to pull off the upset in that game, the one week that I don't pick them. Thankfully,
Yeah.
they did not, but they did cover by the hook. Or if you got Dolphins -6, then it was a push. But I got to roll with the Jets here. They looked tremendously improved last week. Aaron Rodgers looked like vintage Aaron Rodgers, just the completion percentage, the yards per attempt. The Jacksonville Jaguars got lucky to win by 7 points by only scoring 10 points at Tennessee. Those are two of the worst teams in the league right now. Mac Jones, he's a turnover machine. He's going to throw a pick, maybe fumble, maybe throw another pick to the Jets. I think it's an easy one for Aaron Rodgers to gobble up.
He might be slobber goblin this week, bro,
Slobber
but
Goblin?
he might be. But I can't bring myself to pick the Jets this time, bro. I've got to go with Jacksonville.
That's fair.
They've been looking terrible, but I just can't bet against or I can't bet in favor of Aaron and the Jets right now. They might have looked better next week and they might win this game, but I don't want to have the Jets on my string of picks here because they taint my picks when I include them on there. So I don't want it. I don't
They
want
do
any part
taint
of it.
my picks as well. Yeah. We don't want those blemishes. So maybe it's foolish of me, but I'm gonna roll with them. I'm gonna put my faith in them one last time.
One last time. We'll see how it plays out.
All right, let's rattle through our best bets here. I love the Niners -2.5 on Thursday. I really think they're pushed up against the wall. I think they win. I think that's a very coverable spread. I mean, you get under a field goal there. That's a yummy, enticing spread. So you got to take it. I also like the under 48.5 in that game. I just think that the Rams coming off the high scoring game, the Niners coming off of a high scoring game, they come back down to earth a little bit. They know each other better than anyone, so they shouldn't give up as many points as they just did, or be able to score as many points. And, the Rams likewise give up as many points. All right, Friday, Idaho, Montana State, FCS playoffs. Montana State beat them earlier in the season like 38-10. So I think they do it again. I think this is Montana State's on an absolute historical run right now. They're undefeated, including in the
Mhm.
playoffs. They've been incredible just blowing teams out. They had a couple close games there, but they know how to win close. They know how to win in dominant fashion. 10.5 is just not enough. I think they keep it closer than the 28-point margin they had previously, but I think 10.5 is just too little. Now, if it was 14.5, I would take Idaho, but 10.5, the value is there for Montana State. Then Saturday, Navy Army game, the classic of the year. These teams have been much improved this year compared to last, especially offensively. So the fact that over under is only 38.5 is crazy to me. This is such a yummy line. I think the under is hit in almost every one of these games over the last 10 years, but this is a new era of Army Navy. I think the over hits, especially when it's that low. Sunday, Dallas +2.5. I think they beat the Panthers. Kansas City, let's say they finally cover a game. They're bound to finally cover one here. So -4, that's not that bad. Jets, Jacksonville over 40 and a half. I'm just waiting. One of these Jacksonville games is going to go over, I swear. Indianapolis, Denver. The over has been an absolute lock in a lot of these Denver games and Pittsburgh games. So I'm going to
Hmm.
take the over 44 there. Chargers -3, Detroit -1.5. I think they win. And if they win, they're going to win by 2 points or more. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, like I said, over 42 and a half. That is just tremendously low. I love the over there. And then I also like Pittsburgh +4.5. It could be a very close game, a field goal game, maybe even a 4 point game in which they cover that. I like the Green Bay, Seattle under 46 and a half, though. And then I'm going to take Atlanta -4.5 against the Raiders. I think finally they have a good game. Kirk comes back and they win in pretty dominant fashion by a touchdown.
Nice, dude. I like the picks. We actually have a few the same this week. One opposing,
Oh, it's
unfortunately.
another Jacksonville under.
Another Jacksonville under. I gotta take the under, bro. They came through for me last week. I gotta bet it again this week, especially with the Jets, bro. Especially with the Jets. You got two 3-10 teams going at it.
Wow.
Neither great.
Combined 20 losses.
Yeah, that's a
The
girth
amount of 10
losses.
loss teams in the AFC is absolutely absurd if you look at it. There
Yeah.
are, oh my God, one, two, three, four, five. There's at least six teams in the AFC with 10 losses and only two
Wow.
in the NFC.
That's absurd, bro.
And that's why you got a 12-1 Chiefs, a 10-3 Bills, and a 10-3 Steelers.
Yeah, those are some unreal numbers right there. But yeah, I mean they kind of deserve it. They've been playing like poo.
Yeah,
All right.
all of them have,
Next
yeah.
Yeah. Next up here, we've got Green Bay -3 here. I really think they're going to take this game away from Seattle with ease. Then you got Denver -3.5 over the Colts. Also think they should win handedly. The Colts and Denver, I'm going to go with over 44. Like you said, the overs have been looking nice in the Denver games. Pittsburgh +5, same as what you had there. This is a good game against the Eagles. I really think it could be close, especially it's the game of the week. You got the Chargers -3. We already talked about that. Then we got Tampa Bay at the Chargers over 45.5. Really like this one. I think this is liable to be a higher scoring game as well. And finally, closing it off here with Cincinnati -5 against the Titans. I'm honestly surprised they're not favored by more. But yeah, that wraps up my biggest best bet slate of the year with a whopping eight of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can just aim for five, 5 of 8.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be nice, bro.
That's nice. You got Pittsburgh at 5. I saw them at 4.5. Five's a
Yeah,
lot tastier.
it is up to five now.
Damn, I'll have to adjust mine here then. I'm gonna take that 5 or if I
Yeah, yeah,
can. I
yeah.
did
You
these
can
this
take it.
morning.
It's still -110, bro. You can take it.
Okay, good, 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 good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did these this morning, so I didn't think there was a need to go back and make sure that nothing had
Right.
changed, but I guess stuff had been fluctuating. People have been getting after it. People have been getting busy already on a Tuesday.
I know, dude. That's the way you have to do it is on Tuesdays. You have to get frisky.
I agree, get some good early lines. But fan mail time. We actually it appears to have everyone's new picks in.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Jimmy and my dad both went 9-4 last week.
Very
And
nice.
yeah, he was relatively locked, I would say, from the
From the
Netherlands.
Netherlands, yeah.
Not bad at all. New picks. He did say that he had a hard time picking some of the games this week, that many of the matchups seem to be difficult selections for him, but I'll run through them real quick here. He's got Rams, Commanders, Chiefs, Bengals, Dolphins, Ravens, Jets, Cowboys, Bucks, Broncos, Cardinals, Lions, Eagles, Seahawks, Vikings, and Falcons. So, a couple noteworthy ones here. He is not taking the Browns for like I think the first time since Jameis started playing, and
But he is taking the Bucks.
he's taking the Bucks, and he is taking the Lions over the Bills here. A couple big ones to note there.
Interesting.
Although he's taking the Seahawks, which I am a little bit surprised by.
I don't think that's a horrible pick. There are gonna be
Um,
upsets.
I really liked the Packers pick this week, bro.
Yeah,
It's
well,
one
we'll
of my best
see.
bets. Packers to cover by 3
I wouldn't include it in the Lizzle though.
in the Lizzle.
No.
Okay. Then we got my dad also going 9-4 here. His new picks, he's got Niners, Commanders, Chiefs, Bengals, Texans, Ravens, Jets, Panthers, Chargers, Broncos, Cardinals, Lions, Eagles, Packers, Vikings, Raiders. Wow, that's a
Wow.
big pick
I mean,
over
it's
the
fair though with
Falcons.
how bad Kirk's been playing, but
Yeah,
I'm not yeah, I'm a little surprised that everyone took the Lions except for you.
I know that gives me a little bit of cause for concern there, bro.
Also, everyone took the Eagles, which is also a little concerning because those are should be very good close games.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, excited to see how it all plays out. My dad had me calculate his record for the year. And it was actually quite impressive here.
I bet.
So he was 106 and 43 through 13 weeks, and he skipped 3 weeks.
Hmm.
So if you extrapolate those weeks, that like let's just say an average of like 10 wins, that puts him up to like 136 and like 56 or something like that, which would be several games ahead of us,
Yeah,
like
that's really solid. I mean, he's
handedly.
rattled off some 12 plus win weeks in there, so I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah, no, definitely solid that his record is even on pace with ours, and he's skipped several weeks.
Well,
So
next year he's got to make sure he starts from week one, so there's
yes,
no room
exactly.
for doubt, no extrapolating
Yeah.
needed.
Love that.
But to conclude, I have to address the college football playoff selections. Obviously, lots and lots and lots of controversy about putting
Yes.
SMU in over Alabama, but I believe it was absolutely the right decision.
Yeah.
Alabama, with three losses,
Sets a
cannot be
bad precedent.
compared, yes, to an SMU team going into the conference game with only one loss. Like, we can have the
Hmm.
conversation between a 10-2 team and a 9-3 game or a 9-3 team, like they clearly did by putting Alabama ahead of Miami at 10-2. I'm okay with that because of their strength of schedule, but that goes out the window when the difference in wins and losses is by two. SMU 11 wins versus Alabama's 9 wins, and three of their, three losses, two of which being disgusting. I mean, Vanderbilt, okay, Oklahoma, pretty bad.
Hmm.
Now, the other interesting point here is because there are a lot of nuances to this whole debate, and the idea that the committee is making these conference championship games protected in the sense you play in it and you're already in the playoffs, you're not going to get bounced out. I think that's right because why else? Like you would be de-incentivized from playing in the conference championship game if you know that there's a risk of losing it. Whereas teams
Hmm.
like Ohio State or what's the other SEC team that got in Tennessee that did not make their conference championship game, Indiana as well, they're safe, but they didn't make their conference title game. So they should not be necessarily awarded, but the ones that did make it in for losing,
Hmm.
they should not be punished. However, I will say that Oregon got shafted because there's no reseeding for the second round of the college football playoff. So,
Hmm.
in doing that, the conference championship game now is less protected and less rewarding for the winners. So, it's not punishing for the losers as much, but it's not rewarding for the winners because there's no reseeding. So, Oregon's going to play, they have one of the hardest paths to a national championship game despite being undefeated, the only undefeated team and the one seed won their conference championship game. They're going to play the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee. That is brutal. Then they'd play the winner of Texas, Arizona State, most likely, and then would have to go on, the national championship game, probably, Georgia, Notre Dame, Penn State, whoever comes out of that. Whereas
Hmm.
Penn State, who lost in the conference championship game, essentially gets two group of five teams. SMU, who last year was a group of five team, this is their first year in a power conference. And then Boise State, who is the
Yeah.
winner, the group of five representative. And then they
Hmm.
would get, Notre Dame or Georgia.
Right.
Absolutely insane to me. Or Indiana. I really I cannot jinx Notre Dame here. Indiana is still alive. I There's so much nuance to this debate. I just feel like reseeding is such an easy fix there And then it's almost perfect, I think. But Alabama being left out was so happy for me. I was in absolute, I mean, I think the worst case scenario happened for Alabama by SMU losing a close game. If they
Hmm.
beat Clemson, SMU is in, Alabama's in. If SMU is destroyed by Clemson, which it looks like they were going to be, Clemson is in, Alabama's in. The way it happened was the worst case scenario. I'm happy about it. And I'm excited for the playoff. There was one more thing I was going to say, but I forgot. There's just so much at stake here. There's so much going on. But do you have
Yeah,
anything to add on
uh,
the college football
for
playoffs?
sure, bro. Yeah, so I'm with you on the call for SMU in over Alabama. Um, the one caveat with that is just that it would have made for just a much more electric environment for the game in South Bend if we were facing Alabama at home in the first ever home playoff game than facing Indiana. Like it's still going to be a great game, but it just would have been more electric if it was Bama, you know?
It could have been, but Alabama would have always been the 11 seed, so Notre Dame would have to have been
Yeah,
moved up to the 6.
right.
But I think Indiana is still a pretty electric matchup considering it's an in-state game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to go as far as to say in-state rivalry because they haven't played
Hmm.
since like 1991 or something stupid like
Right.
that, which everyone's saying. In-state rivalry, they haven't played in like 35 years,
Yeah, no.
bro.
What are
So
they talking
it's
about?
not an in-state rivalry. They used to play them a lot, but then, Indiana was
Hmm.
so bad, they started playing Purdue, who was better, and now Purdue is dog water. So just the cyclical nature of college football. But
Right,
I
right.
think
But
overall the committee got it right in terms of the teams that got in, but I'm not convinced they got it right in the seeding.
yeah, that another comment on that as well. I don't understand the logic behind placing Clemson at 12 and SMU at
There is
11.
language in the structure about that, but I
I
totally
don't
agree.
get it though.
Clemson had the head-to-head over SMU, but there is like official language in the college football playoff structure that Clemson had to be there because they were ranked outside of the top 12, but they were the winner of the fifth highest ranked conference. So they automatically had to go to 12. The
Hmm.
only way that the fifth highest rated championship team would get a seed, not 12, is if they were already in the like top 11 spots.
Okay.
And
All
because
right.
Clemson was like down yonder at like
Yeah, yeah,
16, 17, because they had three losses,
yeah.
they had to be 12. So it's not, it was just, that was just the rule. Kind of, like those first four, like those
Right.
had to kind of be that way. Everything in the middle is what could be moved and manipulated.
I gotcha. So here's the question. Are you going to cook up a college football playoff bracket?
I mean, I'm very tempted to do so, but there's so much emotion at stake here for me on the Notre Dame side of things. I
Yeah.
am
Yeah, no, there has to
so
be.
emotionally invested in it, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like all the spreads are a little bit bigger than they should be. I mean, all the conference title games were within like 4 points. Now all these games are between like 11 and 7.
Hmm.
I'd probably roll with Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Penn State. I'm just gonna go chalk with them. I'm gonna take all the favorites. I think there will be uh,
So you're not
an
taking
upset.
Oregon?
They don't play. I mean, I'm just
Oh,
going
you're
first round.
talking
I'm just going
round one.
first
Okay. I
round.
thought you were listing like the final four.
Oh, the final four. Man, it's so tough to not have like Ohio State in there because and that would eliminate Oregon because
Yeah.
I mean Ohio State already lost to him by 1 point. Like, man, it's really gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. And now that we have a bracket, it almost feels like March
Yeah.
Madness,
I know, dude. It does. Honestly, it feels like it could be a bonus episode for us to cook one up.
right? Almost, yeah. All right. Well, if you don't have anything else, I think that's all I had to rant about college football. There was one more thing, man. There's just, yeah, a ton going on.
Is this your favorite college football season so far?
Oh, yeah. I'm so much more
It has
invested
to
in
be.
Notre Dame and whatnot
Yeah.
because they actually have a realistic shot at the national championship game. Whereas previous seasons, had they had lost that
Hmm.
NIU game week
Right.
2, they pretty much would
They're
have been
done.
eliminated. Now, as it played out, I think they actually could have very well made the 4-team playoff with that loss. but
Yeah,
you wouldn't have really known that until the last week of the season. So
right.
it's been more captivating throughout the entire season. So yeah, I'm very happy, very excited to see how it plays out. But
For sure. Me too.
that all being said, we will let you guys go. Thank you as always for watching, and we will see you next week.